You have achieved the pinnacle of success. Anything you have ever wanted, any goal you've set your sights on, any ambition you've dreamed about having in your grasp is yours. You rule over your life from a proverbial throne, surveying what you have seized in unmatched authority. Yet, there is an ever present worm inside your soul, eating away at your spirit and contaminating your mind. There is something within you that you've been desperately trying to ignore. But when the foundations of your fleeting empire begin to shake, when you are forced to reckon with the undoing of everything you've ever built, all that remains is to face yourself. Who are you in light of what you've lost? Who were you when you had it all? What have you become? Viva la Vida has been one of my favorite songs since I first discovered it. Besides the fact that it's a genuine piece of ear candy, the lyrics have what I value more than anything else in media of any kind: a deep meaning that can be interpreted both as a story and applied to real life. Now, as I normally do with my music investigations, we are going to analyze and dissect the lyrics as they are. We are not going to take into account what the artists have or haven't said about the song or anything else. The story that music presents is usually most pure when we let the lyrics speak for themselves. To preface everything else, I would like to highlight the instrumental and verbal mastery that the song has. It simultaneously manages to instill an uplifting and inspiring sensation and a somber and defeated emotion just upon the listening experience, which ends up being incredibly fitting given the lyrical significance as well. Speaking of which, let's delve into the emotionally provocative meaning that the song holds within it. To start with the first verse: I used to rule the world. Seas would rise when I gave the word. Now in the morning I sleep alone. Sweep the streets I used to own. Right from the start, a character begins to form. The protagonist here, the narrator of the song, was once in a position of great power and held significant influence to the world around them, as the opening lines immediately reveal. However, the verse concludes on a far more defeated note, informing us that they no longer possess such power. They are apparently isolated, engaged in a servant's job rather than a ruler's. The song continues with, I used to roll the dice, feel the fear in my enemy's eyes, listen as the crowd would sing, now the old king is dead, long live the king. One minute I held the key, next the walls were closed on me, and I discovered that my castles stand upon pillars of salt and pillars of sand. The first two lines show a willingness to take chances, which I think is a testament to our narrator's confidence in their own ability to seize what they desire. The fear in the eyes of their enemies, proving that even those that defied them were concerned about their own downfall whilst doing so. The fact that the crowds used to sing in their favor, declaring joy that the old ruler is gone and wishing for the long life of their new one, shows that they were even in good standings with the people at one point. They had supporters at one point in time in addition to his self-confidence. The closing half of the verse, mirroring the structure of the first verse, undoes this triumphant memory by bringing us back to the present day, when all of that appears to have been undone for some reason. Once again, the word choice in this verse displays the difference in their status. No longer do they possess the freedom and authority of a king. Now it is as though they are imprisoned, the farthest point from a ruler possible. The closing pair of lines show the realization he has come to. It is a common sentiment that building upon sand makes for unstable foundations, something that is utilized in metaphors and sayings frequently. If our protagonist has discovered that his castles were built upon pillars of salt and sand, that means that they have come to terms with the fact that they constructed their empire without the ability to last, or lacked foresight back when they were rising to power. If we are to take a more symbolic route with the wording, then it could represent the fact that they place too much importance and emphasis on things of the world that are impermanent and ended up suffering in the long term as a result. It is at this point we move into the first iteration of the chorus. I hear Jerusalem bells a-ringin', Roman cavalry choirs are singin', be my mirror, my sword and shield, my missionaries in a foreign field. Before we get into the specifics, I should bring up the significance of the title of the song itself. In Spanish, Viva la Vida means long live life, and it is tied to a painting that portrays the revolutionaries as heroes. This phrase also works to tie in with the underlying themes of life and death, regrets, and transformation that are found both in the song and the album it appears in. Given the context of revolutionaries and all the verbiage relating to rulers and kings present in the song thus far, I think it makes sense to attribute the Jerusalem bells and Roman cavalry choirs to the rejoicing sounds of the people rebelling against our narrator, finding great joy at the idea of their downfall delivered by the hands of the people who have rejected them. We can see that our narrator begins asking his audience to be his mirror, his sword and shield, and his missionaries in a foreign field. The mirror probably signifies a cry to be his self reflection, as a king wants his armies and his people to reflect his ruling and desires. His sword represents acting as his fist of authority, his shield obviously being his guard of defense, and his missionaries in a foreign field being the messengers that are working to spread his ideology across the land. This is how a kingdom operates. A king is nothing without an army of loyal followers, different subsects of which upholding each of these aspects previously described. It seems our narrator once possessed this loyalty, but now they have lost it all, fallen so far that their own people are what is perpetrating their downfall. The requests or commands seen in the chorus are luxuries of a time that is now lost. The first chorus ends on a solemn note. For some reason I can't explain, once you'd gone, there was never an honest word, and that was when I ruled the world. The narrator is incapable of fully putting into the words the emotions they are experiencing in the midst of everything, but it is clear that they are probably going through doubt, guilt, and regret. Something has left them, and what exactly that is may not be specified, but I think it very well could be something intangible, like youth or innocence, something that resulted in dishonesty and scheming once it was gone. The last line shows that the narrator has come to a startling understanding. Those degenerative qualities, the deception and wrongdoing that came attached to their ambition, is what accompanied them during the height of their success. While they felt on top of the world, their inner self was corrupt and ugly. If their kingdom was so fragile and volatile, had they really ever succeeded in being king either? If they were so inwardly decayed during their reign, were they ever really succeeding in life at all? All these questions are presented by the song and are undoubtedly running through the protagonist's mind. The next verse reads as follows. It was a wicked and wild wind, blew down the doors to let me in, shattered windows and the sound of drums. People couldn't believe what I'd become. Revolutionaries wait for my head on a silver plate, just a puppet on a lonely string. Ah, who would ever want to be king? I like to imagine the wicked and wild wind represents the changing landscape of power. Just as a dramatic change ushered our narrator into their position, the winds of change and power, if you will, have now turned against them to remove them from their status. The shattered windows, the sound of drums, those are the passionate actions caused by the revolutionaries who, as the verse says, wait for their head on a silver plate. Our protagonist has reached the ultimate low. What should have been their people want them dead. The people couldn't believe what they had become, as one line says, which shows the spiraling descent of character our protagonist has gone through in light of his power. The ending of this verse is, in my opinion, the line that hits the feels the hardest. The narrator feels like a puppet on a lonely string. They are binded by the string they have chosen, by the status they have managed to seize, and by the people who have risen against them. They have always been alone in their endeavors. After all, there can only be one king. But now, even the support of their people has been stripped away. Any kind of shallow love or praise is gone. All have turned against them. They are truly alone, like never before. One question rises to the forefront of their mind. Who would ever want to be king? A sentiment that has been learned through tribulation, a realization found in the flames that burn away all that they are. I've said the word ambition a few times in this script. That's what often comes to mind when thinking of what drives one to obtain a position of political influence or power, such as an emperor or king. On the surface, it does sound enticing to rule over a kingdom, to have power and authority over a nation of subjects, but there are so many forces that will tear one down in that kind of position. The crushing weight of responsibility, the temptation to abuse power, the fact that there will inevitably be those that hate you with an undying passion no matter who you are. Not to mention the fact that one can place so much emphasis on obtaining this title that they miss out on or sacrifice the other joys of life, the pleasures found in simplicity, love and meaningful relationships, lasting legacy by means of family rather than history books. Imagining all of this running through our narrator's head as they watch their kingdom fall apart around them serves as an emotional gut punch, whether it was their own actions that have prompted this downfall or not. The small change at the end of the chorus the next time it comes around acts as the final blow in this tragedy. I know St. Peter won't call my name. This draws on themes from Catholicism, as Roman Catholic tradition holds that Jesus established St. Peter as the first pope. It is also said that Jesus gave him the keys of the kingdom of heaven, which is why St. Peter is often displayed as standing by the gates of heaven. For our narrator to declare that they know St. Peter won't call their name implies that they don't believe they will be ushered into the gates of heaven to experience unending joy and peace upon their death. They don't believe that they have earned or deserve that kind of reward in the afterlife. It is the final understanding in this personal journey of revelation that the song takes us on. Not only has our protagonists squandered their life in the mortal realm, they have been corrupt enough in life that they won't amount to anything beyond it either. If they are remembered at all, their lasting legacy will merely be that of a villain that was overthrown. All that is left for them is to witness the final destruction of their empire, awaiting their inevitable death as all of this soul shaking knowledge envelops their mind. I think this song can go one step further, too. Aside from this haunting story of a fallen king, the song can encapsulate the feelings and emotions that people living everyday lives feel as well. The idea of something collapsing in on itself can be very relatable. The concept of embarking on the wrong path at one point or another, all too familiar for most of us. If nothing else, the relentless wheel of time that brings about death and change for all of us is reflected in the song. Point is, no matter who you are, there is a certain amount of relatability that can be found within these lyrics. Maybe that's comforting, maybe that's haunting. What's certain is that Viva la Vida is a brilliantly crafted song that more than succeeds in telling a harrowing story with important morals, delving deep into thematic material, and leaving a lasting impression on the listener. I hope you enjoyed this latest song analysis, and if you did, make sure to subscribe for more similar content and to leave a like and comment in order to help the video out. I have a playlist of other in-depth videos I've done on songs and their lyrics, so definitely check those out if you're into that kind of thing. Furthermore, here are some other creations of mine you can explore. If you're watching this, then you probably enjoy stories, and one of the best ways of consuming stories is through books. I have been writing and self publishing fictional novels to Amazon for years, under the broad umbrella of science fiction, but also containing elements of fantasy and mystery as well. If you're in the mood for high concept sci fi, then books like Linear Highway or Genesis Prince of Time should hit the spot. If you are more into unraveling a mystery, Frameless Mirror or What's Gone Before should be ideal. Or, if you are into themes of spiritual horror, Cult of Shadows has a soul shaking story to get lost in. Of course, there is always the option to dive into the entirety of the Lloyd Salt series and the broader universe it takes place in to fully experience its vast and ever expanding lore. Furthermore, if you prefer to listen to audiobooks rather than read, if you show your support to the channel by becoming a member of the Amateur Sleuth tier or above, you will have access to the audiobook versions of my novels, which I update with new episodes weekly. The first reading is of my book-length fanfiction based around the Petscop web series. Links are in the description. Thank you to anyone who considers investing in my writing, and now back to the investigation. Thanks to anyone who watched to the end, and a big thanks to my one member, Night Rain, for being a top supporter of the channel. I've been your lore detective, the man behind the hat, and as always, the unknown persists, so the investigation continues.